All right, today we're going to talk about how do we analyze a poem. So what I want you to do is I want you to get out your poetry packet and I want you to look at the poem called A Bird Came Down by Emily Dickinson. Okay, to analyze poetry, the first thing that we have to do is we have to read it several times. And then we have to do something called analyzing, which means going back to our reading and really thinking about what each line meant. The next thing that we have to do is we have to pick out words or certain sentences and we really have to dig deeper into them and say, what did the author really mean? Okay, what did he or she what were they talking about? What were they trying to get us to visualize or see through their eyes, through the words that they chose that help describe what the poem is about? Um, the Bird Came Down was written by Emily Dickinson. It was written in the 1800s, so this poem is going to be written a little bit differently than what you're normally used to. It's going to have certain words that maybe you've never seen before, or this style of writing is not going to make sense sometimes, just because in the 1800s, the way that they wrote poetry was a lot different than the way we write poetry today. All right, A Bird Came Down by Emily Dickinson. A bird came down the walk he did not know I saw. He bit an angleworm in halves and ate the fellow raw. And then he drank a dew from a convenient grass, and then he hopped sideways to the wall to let a beetle pass. He glanced with rapid eyes that hurried all abroad. They looked like frightened beads, I thought. He stirred his velvet head like one in danger. Cautious, I offered him a crumb, and he unrolled his feathers and rowed him softer home. Then oars divide the ocean to silver for a seam, or butterflies off the banks of noon leap splashless as they swim. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and I'm going to read it again, but this time when I read it, I'm going to pay attention to several words in the poem. A bird came down the walk he did not know I saw. Walk. Maybe they're talking about like a sidewalk or a brick wall or perhaps a street. He did not know I saw. So the bird has not seen that the author is sitting here and noticing him. And so sometimes when birds don't notice or people don't notice that you're looking or staring at them, they continue to act normal. And so that's what this bird was doing. He bit an angleworm in half and ate the fellow raw. Long ago, they referred to friends or people as fellow or fella or Mr. And so this is just one way of saying that the worm is a fellow, a person. He ate that guy. He ate that worm raw. He ate him without cooking him or killing him. He ate him right when he was alive. And then he drank a dew from a convenient grass. I'm going to think grass and dew have something to do together. And so if he's drinking it, perhaps what they're talking about is the condensation of water that grass gets from frost overnight, or sometimes if it's rained, it's left over. So perhaps the bird is drinking some water pieces off of the grass. And then he hops sideways to the wall to let a beetle pass. Perhaps the little birdie was afraid of the beetle. It's telling us this line right here is really painting a picture for us of what it might look like. He hops sideways to the wall to let a beetle pass. How many of you have ever seen a bird jumping? I have, for sure, from one tree to the next. He glanced with rapid eyes that hurried all abroad. If I'm looking at this word glance and I'm trying to figure out what that word means, I might use the word eyes to help me because it's the same line. He glanced with rapid eyes. I know this word rapid means super fast, and I know what eyes do. They look. So perhaps glance means to look around or to look at quickly. They hurried all abroad. They looked like frightened beads, I thought. Frightened. I wonder what this word means. Frightened beads. If he's glancing with quick eyes, they look like frightened beads. Perhaps the bird is scared. He stirred his velvet head like one in danger. Cautious. Sometimes when people are in danger and they're in a dangerous situation, they take extra care, meaning they're extra cautious about what they're doing. So they're being very particular about their next moves or what they're going to do or if they're going to run or if they're going to stay quiet. So sometimes birds do this too because they think that humans are going to injure them or hurt them. I offered him a crumb. I know what a crumb is. A crumb is a piece of food. He unrolled his feathers. If He's unrolling his feathers, perhaps he's spreading his wings, and rowed him softer home. I know that row is a movement you can do in a boat, so perhaps he flew home. He rowed him softer home. He flew effortlessly or elegantly in the sky. Then oars divide the ocean to silver for a seam, or butterflies off the banks of noon leap splashless as they swim. All right, so our first question says, how many stanzas are in this poem? Remember, stanzas are groups of lines. And so right now I want you to think about, how many groups of lines do you see? Well, remember, a line is a single line in a poem. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 lines right here. That's in a group. I wonder if this counts as a stanza. So I want you to take a quick second. I want you to write down a number next to question number 1. How many stanzas are in this poem? Okay, the next question says, what's the rhyme scheme of the poem? Remember, rhyme scheme is when we look at the ends of the words and we see if the words rhyme or do not rhyme. So, walk, saw, halves, and raw. Saw and raw rhyme, but halves and walk do not. So what I would do is I give each of these things a letter. If the words rhyme, they get the same letter, and I go in order. I start with A. So walk would get the letter A. Saw, because it does not rhyme with walk, would get the letter B. And when I do letter B for saw, I see halves. Does halves rhyme with walk or saw? No, it does not. So it gets the letter C. Raw, raw rhymes with saw, and saw was the letter B, so I'm going to write the letter B right next to raw. Go ahead and see if you can find the A, B, C, B pattern as an answer choice. The next question says, does this poem have a refrain? And remember, a refrain is a repeated line throughout the poem. Well, I don't know. I want you to think. Does this poem have a refrain? Did it have a line that the author repeated more than once? Okay. Then question 4 is, what are 2 rhyming words? Well, because we just did the rhyme scheme, you should be able to find rhyming words pretty quickly. Do, grass, wall, pass, eyes abroad, thought, head, cautious, crumb, feathers, home, ocean, seam, noon, swim. And then it says, what is an antonym for the word cautious? Number 6. Remember, as an antonym is the opposite of. So cautious means to take care, to be careful. So what is the opposite of taking care or being careful? I want you to think about what that means. Then it says number 7, what do you think the phrase glance with rapid eyes means? Glance with rapid eyes. I've kind of talked you through this, so if you need to rewind, you can. I talked to you about what glance meant and how I used the context clues around to figure that out. Then the author uses a simile in lines 9 through 10 to compare the birds blank to blank. So we're going to count line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That hurried all abroad. They looked like frightened beads, I thought. She compares the bird's eyes to what? What does she compare the bird's eyes to? All right, so here we go. Back to number 1. The poem has 5 stanzas. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What is the rhyme scheme? We talked about that. A, B, C, B, because saw and raw rhyme. Line A does not rhyme with line 3, so it gets 2 different letters. Does the poem have a refrain? No, it does not, because a refrain is a repeated line throughout a poem. All right, here we go. Now what we're going to do, we're going to look at each stanza. We're going to write a brief summary next to each one. So on your paper, I want you to just write something, a summary next to what you think each stanza means. And this will help us at the end when we're trying to figure out what is this poem about and how can we explain what this poem is. A bird came down the walk. He did not know I saw. He bit an angleworm in half and ate the fellow raw. Maybe I write the author is observing a bird eating a worm, because that's literally what the author is doing, watching a bird eating a worm. You don't have to write what I write. You can choose your own thing. And then he drank a dew from a convenient grass and hopped sideways to the wall to let a beetle pass. So the author here is watching the bird drinking and hopping along. drinks water, and hops sideways to let the beetle pass. Literally, what does it mean? There's no trick or rhyme to what we're doing here. We are just writing what we see and what we know. He glanced with rapid eyes that hurried all abroad. They looked like frightened beads, I thought. He stirred his velvet head. So here the bird is like looking around. Maybe he's starting to get a little frantic. He's trying to figure out who's in front of him or where he is. So the bird looks around quickly. Maybe he's scared. Like one in danger, cautious, I offered him a crumb. So cautiously, she offered him some food, maybe to make him feel better, and then she watched him fly away. The author tries to give him some food to eat, but he flies away. Then oars defy the ocean to silver for a seam, or butterflies off the banks of noon leap splashes as they swim. This stanza describes the bird's movement as it flies across. To silver for a seam, or butterflies off the banks of noon leap splashes as they swim. All right, so what is this poem all about? That's for you to decide. I hope that you learned something. Go ahead and take that knowledge onto your next activity, your next poem that you're going to do with a partner, and then the one that you do by yourself. Please continue to behave yourself. I will hear from you again tomorrow. Bye.